Hello, friends, and welcome into the Fantasy Football Rumors Podcast. I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz. Mitchell, what are we sipping on this afternoon?
Well, Tom, you actually are sipping on Stouty Goodness Winter Stout.
Doesn't look like a winter stout.
I know. I think they're kind of playing a joke on us, but I'm not really sure. For me, though, I'm sipping Real Ale Brewing Company's Pale Ale. For anybody who likes IPAs or like maybe double IPAs, that's a really good beer for you. It's got a really good kick to it. I know you're not a big IPA guy, but I am actually a fan of it. They are pretty good.
This doesn't taste like a winter stout, but it's good.
It's good. I guess
it's a little light for winter stout, but I approve.
I guess that's all that matters. And something that maybe wasn't good for a lot of people, or, well, we'll say Patriots fans, was the Monday night game.
It's a great game. I loved it.
I loved the game.
I loved it. My opponent had Deion Lewis and Kenny Stills. I loved it.
See, my opponent
and I had Travis Landry. It was glorious.
I thought I was done. I'm thinking I'm playing Tom Brady, Brandon Cooks, and Deion Lewis, and they together put up like 20 points in my family league, and I ended up winning by 1 point. I move on to to the Final Four in my family league, trying to become a champion once again. Tom, I got 3 fantasy football rumors for you.
Okay.
I got 2 fantasy believe it or nots.
Okay.
An interesting discussion question, and then some waiver wire help for you.
Okay.
The first one I got for you, Doug Martin or Peyton Barber. Who's going to be the starting running back next week for the Buccaneers? So Doug Martin, he got the touchdown, 10 carries, 26 yards, and the score. But then Peyton Barber came in, looked much, much better. I mean, we're talking 12 carries, 58 yards, and just the offense just looked better in general with Barber. So I ask you, as a fantasy owner who has both, who should I start next week?
Hope that somebody else gets the start, or starts. I don't know. I don't have a great answer for you. I think it should be Peyton Barber, but I think we're going to see what we saw this week, a committee that doesn't really benefit anyone.
Okay.
Unless one of them scores.
Yeah, I kind of hope they turn the keys over to Barber too. I mean, he just looks like clearly the better running back, better vision. I mean, Martin again averaged under 3 yards per carry. So
season's over for the Bucs. You might as well see what you actually have in Peyton Barber.
And I agree with that. I will say though, when it comes in the next week for ranking them, I am going to rank Peyton Barber ahead of them because, again, I don't think Dirk Cutter's going to be around next season.
Yeah.
Might as well see what you got. Go with Peyton Barber. That's the guy I'm going to rely on. Fantasy rumor number 2. Obviously, with the loss of Carson Wentz, this season is just becoming the season that the amount of players that we're losing, I mean, it's seriously pour one out for those guys. I mean, we've lost so many amazing quarterbacks. Yeah. Hopefully getting one back with Aaron Rodgers this week, which we might talk about. But are you going to trust any Eagles this week against the Giants? Like, is there an Eagles player that you can trust? I mean, this offense has been just so fruitful the entire season.
100% Zach Ertz if he plays. I'm still going to play Zach Ertz against the Giants, who are just not good at tight ends. They're guarding tight ends.
What about Trey Burton?
You know, Burton, if Ertz doesn't play, I think I'll go ahead and play Burton.
Okay.
I'd consider Alshon Jeffrey.
All right.
I still think he kind of drops down to like maybe a flex play. And the Eagles running back is still a committee, so I'll probably avoid that as well.
So what about Nick Foles? Like, I mean, is Nick Foles, do you think, a reliable guy that we can trust? I mean,
I'm not going to trust him, and I'm not going to consider him reliable, but I do think he is, if you have Carson Wentz and you had nobody else, I think he's a decent stream option.
Yeah.
Dak looked pretty good late against the Giants and ended up having a really, really good game.
Yeah, so, like, the one thing that gives me confidence with Foles is, like, he came into that game and he prevailed the Eagles to a win. Like, 6 of 10, 42 yards is nothing to brag about.
He did his job.
But he did his job, and I thought he looked good, and that Eagles team is very talented. But from a fantasy football standpoint, I'm with you, Tom. I mean, if Zach Ertz plays, I'll trust him against the Giants. If Ertz doesn't play, I'm going to trust Burton because he has been pretty reliable. But besides that, I guess Alshon Jeffrey, because at this point, I mean, Jeffrey is a wide receiver 1, so you probably don't have many options better than him.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Carson Wentz is done.
Everyone takes a hit, though, in the end.
No doubt. Absolutely no doubt. Tom, fantasy football rumor number 3 I got for you. Are you starting DeAndre Hopkins against the Jags? Man, I've been so wrong on Hopkins, but I have been saying he has the Jags and he has the Steelers 15-16.
I really don't want to play him against the Jags. I really don't.
But
I don't know if you're going to have a better option at this point in the year.
Okay.
I'm going to rank him lower than he's been, where he's been a top 5 receiver.
Do you think he gets Ramsey or Boye?
Ramsey's going to guard him.
Yeah?
Ramsey's going to guard him, and Jalen Ramsey's incredible.
Oh,
Ramsey shuts down guys.
He's amazing.
I will say
it
is
too.
Okay to start DeAndre Hopkins, but just don't expect another 15-point game. Like, he might get 5 or fewer.
I'm done doubting DeAndre Hopkins. I talked to Sigmund Bloom last week, and he was the same way. You start your studs. DeAndre Hopkins right now, guys, is too good to sit. I don't care how good the Jaguars defense is. You start DeAndre Hopkins.
I am not touching him in daily.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't touch him in DFS either. But then again, maybe that's the reason you should play him, because I've been saying to sit him, and he's just been going off, rubbing it in my face for sure. So this is a question that I was presented with today on Twitter, and it kind of made me think about it a little bit. Who's the best wide receiver in the NFL? Is it Antonio Brown? Is it DeAndre Hopkins? Is it maybe another guy?
I mean, look what Antonio Brown is doing.
Okay.
He's the best wide receiver. Now, maybe he's not the most physically gifted wide receiver, but I think he's the best receiver in the NFL.
Now, what about in the term of DeAndre Hopkins with what he's had at quarterback? Like, he's dealing with TJ Yates and Savage right now.
That's very fair.
He might not be putting up the numbers that Antonio Brown is, but from a physically gifted standpoint, I think obviously Hopkins is more physically gifted.
Hopkins, Julio, A.J. Green are all on that incredibly physically gifted. And frankly, all three aren't being properly utilized by their teams, especially Julio, because the Falcons just don't target Julio anywhere near enough. I mean, you've got one of the best players in the NFL, and you're not giving him anywhere near the amount of targets.
I agree with that. So you're going to stick with Antonio Brown is the best wide receiver in the NFL?
Just not the most physically gifted.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you, Tom. I agree.
Excellent.
I just think Antonio Brown is the best wide receiver in the NFL, and it's not just because of this season.
That's not shade toward Hopkins or Julio.
Oh, absolutely not. But I just think when you just see how consistent Antonio Brown's been, sure, DeAndre Hopkins last season wasn't great, and you could blame that on Brock Osweiler, but Antonio Brown is just doing things that, man, we have not seen in a long time.
It's incredible.
So he is the best wide receiver, in my opinion, in the NFL. Two fantasy believe it or nots for you, Tom.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, Davante Adams has more receptions than Julio Jones.
For the season?
For the season.
No, but I bet over like the past month or 2 months,
Okay.
I bet he has more. But no, he does not have
Julio
more.
Jones this season has 73 receptions. Davante Adams this season has 69 receptions.
Nice.
The reason why I bring this up, though, if Aaron Rodgers comes back, we've seen Davante Adams actually be really consistent with Brett Hundley.
I also think we see Jordy Nelson finally emerge again as an option.
Is he back?
I hope he's back. I just think Brett Hundley likes to go to Davante Adams more than he likes to go to Jordy Nelson for whatever reason. So I think
because he's a better receiver.
Okay, he's not a better receiver. That's okay.
He's a better receiver.
Well, stop it. All right. Anyway, once Rodgers comes back, I think it does maybe hurt Davante a little bit.
All right.
But it's not going to be like, oh, well, now you're not going to play him. It's going to be, oh, Rodgers is back. Just keep playing Davante Adams. And maybe Jordy Nelson now becomes startable again. I've kept him on my bench all year for this moment. For when Rodgers comes back and Jordy reemerges.
All right, then let me spin that question for you. If Aaron Rodgers plays Week 15 at Carolina, are you starting Jordy Nelson?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Because it's Carolina, and actually that's a pretty good defense.
And are you starting Davante Adams?
Oh, I don't own Davante Adams, but...
Would you start Davante Adams over Jordy Nelson?
That's a good question.
It is a great question. The answer to that is yes.
I actually really don't like the matchup overall, so I'd probably try to avoid both of them. But I think at this point, I think I might start Davante over Jordy.
Is he better than Jordy Nelson?
No, he's not better than Jordy Nelson.
Right.
But he's a better fantasy player than Jordy Nelson.
Agree to disagree, Tom. Fantasy, believe it or not, number 2. Big Ben has more passing yards than Tom Brady.
No, but it's close because Big Ben went off this week.
Okay.
It's very close.
Tom Brady has more passing yards than Ben Roethlisberger, but it's only by 100.
Oh, okay.
It's very close, and the reason why it's so close is because Big Ben threw for 500 yards.
It's 66 times.
That's what I mean. But still, from a fantasy standpoint, I love seeing that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. The question, though, Tom, that I want to bring up now for you is Big Ben, Tom Brady. What can you expect? What are we going to expect the rest of the season here?
I mean, I think you'll see Big Ben. I think we're going to get him kind of falling back into some old habits where he had some issues on the road. I don't like him throwing it 66 times. I think the Steelers are going to be like, whoa, let's not ever do that again. I know the Ravens really shut down Lev Bell on the ground in terms of yards per carry. Didn't stop him through the air. So I think you'll see Big Ben kind of get, come back down to earth, not throw it anywhere near as much, maybe not even half as much next week. But I think Tom Brady's going to bounce back after a bad game against the Dolphins. He'll be fine going forward. I'm still going to keep playing Brady.
Yeah, I would much rather still play Brady. For some reason, the Dolphins have the Patriots number, and I think it's just one of those in-division things that I can't figure it out.
Sometimes weird stuff happens in the NFL.
That's what I mean. And I think that's what makes it so unpredictable. Even though I will say my dad called me this morning. He said that he bid money on the Dolphins.
Oh, man. To cover or win outright?
to win.
Oh man.
And I was just like,
Great odds then.
I don't know what you were
That
on
was
before
like
that, but
that
good
was
for
either
you.
the highest or second highest spread this week, and the Dolphins found a way to win outright.
Yeah,
Incredible.
my dad might have been the highest as well. So, waiver wire, Tom, I got 4 waiver wire questions for you.
What you got?
Rank these 3 guys. If you need a guy, let's say that you just lost Carson Wentz. You see these 3 quarterbacks on the waiver wire. Rank them for me. Blake Bortles, Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Foles.
Jimmy G, Foles, Blake Bortles. I know that Bortles has been fine,
Yeah, man.
and I know that he's put up good numbers. I cannot trust Blake Bortles because
He's Blake Bortles?
it's Blake Bortles, and I feel like I'm going to be relying too heavily on garbage time, which hasn't really been the case for Blake Bortles this year. It hasn't been the garbage time, but I worry that we're going to get a Jaguars game where there's no garbage time, and it's going to be a great defensive effort, and the running game is going well, and Bortles throws it 15 times,
So
which is what the Jags want to do.
I'm going to rank them Jimmy G, Nick Foles, and Blake Bortles as
Nice.
well. You got it. And the reason why I think this is funny of a question, because I get the question a lot, oh, should I pick up Blake Bortles? He has a great schedule. You bring up the point where when the Jaguars have a great schedule, they're going to, I believe, truly win those games, lean on their running game, and just use that amazing defense to really just smother teams, taking the ball out of Blake Bortles' hands. And sure, they might win those games in real NFL, but from fantasy football standpoint, I don't want that. Like, that's just not what I'm looking for. Jimmy G is, sure, he hasn't put up the big numbers yet, but he looks good. I mean, he's averaging 313
The
passing
yards have
yards.
been there, the TDs haven't.
Correct, and I think that it's going to
Those
come
will
a
come.
time. He has a pretty easy schedule as well, and when I look at Nick Foles, that team is very, very talented around him, and I would imagine a guy who's had success with the Eagles before. Sure, he's also had his his downs as well, but he's been in that system. I thought he looked good. He was converting on big third downs, and he ended
fine.
up winning that game for the Eagles. So
Decent matchup this week.
we both have it. Jimmy G, Foles, Bortles. Tom, we're right here in Dallas. Rod Smith hype is starting to get going. Is Rod Smith worth an ad for Week 15? Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott comes back.
Uh-huh.
I don't think he's going to be anything when Zeke comes back in Week 16.
He definitely won't be. Or if he's going to be anything, he's going to be a third down back. So
Okay.
if you are still desperate and trying to cling like I am in a league where I have Ezekiel Elliott, I've made the playoffs, I had a terrible week this week, and
Okay.
I'm clinging to life and need help, I am going to consider adding Rod Smith. But it's also going to be a one-week pickup.
All right.
He also was heavily reliant on the 2 touchdowns.
Yes,
He
sir.
was solid outside of that. I still think you're going to see Alfred Morris be the starting back.
Okay.
But in the end, I am okay with adding Rod Smith. I think it's a worthwhile add. Maybe you don't start him, but I do think it's a move that you make in the end.
All right, well, then let's spin this because I agree with you from a redraft standpoint in fantasy. What about Dynasty? Do you think Rod Smith has shown anything from a Dynasty? Maybe not with the Cowboys. I thought he looked good.
In Dynasty, I don't see why not, because normally you have deeper benches. You got guys who have been hurt. You can go and add him. He's not
Okay.
available in my Dynasty. I think he was picked up pretty early. I don't have an issue with adding Rod Smith in Dynasty as kind of a speculative pick because I don't think he's going to be a great player for the Cowboys long term. He might be the type of guy that sticks in the Cowboys for a while as that backup halfback, fullback. He's played some fullback as well. Special teams kind of guy who doesn't get a bigger deal elsewhere, stays with Dallas and stays with Jalen Smith.
Okay, fair enough. Waiver wire number 3 I got for you. Who is your top waiver wire priority from a wide receiver standpoint?
I'm going to go in a different direction. We mentioned Jimmy G. How about his top receiver? How about Marquise Goodwin, who is just under the 40% wire? It's like right at 40, so
Okay.
he counts.
Okay.
I'm counting him. He has been actually incredible. The last 4 games, he's put up 11-plus points, which is, okay, at this point in the year, that's pretty solid. Since Jimmy G's arrived, 16-plus. He's
wow.
actually been good.
Well, he's a talented guy with, I believe he might be the fastest player. Tyreek Hill might be the fastest player.
But Goodwin is incredibly fast. I think Garoppolo likes him a lot. There's nobody else to throw to outside of Twan Taylor for short passes. So or Trent Taylor, excuse me. So I'm going to add Marquise Goodwin if I have a spot available, which is weird for me to say out loud.
No, I don't think it's weird to say out loud. We could definitely say much weirder things, but
He has been far more consistent than he ever was in Buffalo. In Buffalo, he was the 20-yard or the 80-yard TD guy and like 2 of the catches, and then a week where he does nothing.
well, again, you're talking about just the play of that team and how Buffalo led
Fair.
the league last season
Fair.
in rush attempts. But the guy I'm going to go with is D.D. Westbrook. So I wrote an article earlier in the week about how I think D.D. Westbrook is finally going to find the end zone because we say all the time on the show, when you look at targets, when you look at receptions, sooner or later a guy is going to find the end zone, and he did this week. And I think since he's come back, yes, Marquise Lee has been, I think, the main target for the Jaguars, but I think he's 1B right now for Blake Bortles. He's proving that he is being very, he's just a reliable option, steady hands, solid route runner, picks up the first downs, targeted in the red zone. I think, for me personally, D.D. Westbrook is the guy that you guys should at least go out and pick up because, yes, they do have easy matchups. Yes, we just said Blake Bortles might be a little bit lower. But again, the easy matchups, Westbrook's, I think, pretty reliable.
Keelan Cole actually being a real person and doing actually pretty well for the Jags concern you at all about D.D. Westbrook?
No. And
That's
it's
fair.
literally,
That's fair.
I'm just looking at targets. So when you're talking about guys in the waiver wire, I just want to go after the targets. So
chase targets, not touchdowns.
Correct. And I think that's what we're doing. And because sooner or later, those targets convert into touchdowns. Last one I got for you, Tom. Trey Burton. Are you adding him? No matter what. Even because right now, Zach Ertz is a coin flip. And we just saw Carson Wentz go down. Are you adding Burton?
I'm adding Burton if I own Zach Ertz.
If you don't own Zach Ertz, would you tell somebody to?
If I am desperate for a tight end, if I'm trying to stream a bunch of different guys, yeah, I think it's worthwhile.
Evan Ingram or Trey Burton?
I'm going Ingram because if Ertz plays, Burton is not playable. He is not even ownable at that point.
No, and I agree, but let's say Ertz doesn't play.
Then yeah,
Hunter Henry?
I actually like Burton. Hunter Henry is a little inconsistent still for me because the Chargers like to use Antonio Gates, even though Hunter Henry should be the only guy that they use, and they'll have much more success outside of Keenan Allen.
Yeah, outside of Keenan. I mean, that Chargers team that was absolutely rolling, and we're going to keep on rolling for you guys. We have another podcast coming up for you guys tomorrow. I don't want to say today, but tomorrow.
Busted.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If there's any fantasy rumors that Tom and I missed, please hit us up on Twitter. I'm Mitchell Renz 365. He's What Going Downey. And if you guys would be so kind to drop a 5-star review, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Chat Sports. And Tom, is there anything else that we missed, my man?
That is it for us today, so you guys stay classy out there.